It's no secret that Hypixel's player count has recently taken a sharp decline, from an average of nearly 60,000 players a day to merely just now 30k at near peak times. What has happened to Hypixel, but specifically Bedwars? Bedwars has taken an even sharper decline from a near average of around 5 to 6,000 concurrent players on at peak time to just 3 to 4,000 sometimes, and sometimes even nearly peaking above 2,000 in some instances. What's happened to Hypixel Bedwars, and is this downfall inevitable for the game? Well, let's take a further look into this. First off, we need to take a look at the factors that has caused Bedwars to decline further and further down into irrelevancy. The first major issue with Bedwars is its updates, and well, lack of them. Bedwars doesn't update very often. In fact, the last two major updates have come merely 9 months apart from each other. The first one being the Slumber Hotel, which, while is pretty good for leveling up your account, struggles to give more than around a week or two worth of good content for the game. And the second major update, which is quite controversial, is the obfuscation update. If you don't know what I'm talking about, obfuscation is basically the mumbling of a Minecraft user's name. Essentially how it works is, if you remember before the update happened in Bedwars, in Bridge, your name is obfuscated when you join a duels game to avoid letting you know who your player that you're playing against is. It's the same idea in Bedwars. And you might think, oh wow, this update prevents sniping and cheating. And on the surface it does. But the other problem is it avoids the ability to Q dodge. For me, Q dodging was an essential way to make my videos. I would Q dodge to avoid sweaty players, especially if I was playing duos. If you just randomly pull up and see two MVP++s in a lobby, you're gonna leave. But with obfuscation, you can't even tell. I know that there are overlays that prevent this issue, but they're not really favored friendly in Hypixel's terms of service, and if I ever get to apply for YouTube rank, I would highly like to keep my chances available for that. But the other thing that Q dodging made a lot easier is to avoid cheaters. This was especially helpful on live streams, as I got cheated on a couple times and I needed to be able to avoid them. But now with obfuscation, there's no way for me to tell. And with Bedwars not even doing a simple thing called removing the freaking lobby number, I mean, if you're at least gonna do obfuscation, do it right. It literally leaves the window for snipers to be wide open to find your lobby again. But back to the issue of updates, rather lack of them. The lack of updates, or even good updates, is very relevant in Hypixel Bedwars. I mean, sure, rotating items are cool and all, but I mean, you gotta give some substance to the game. Look at Fortnite, for example. There's updates going on constantly in Fortnite, which makes the player base relevant, like Chapter 2 Remix, which I have played too much of. It's kept me in the mix, and I kind of wish that Hypixel Bedwars would implement a system of updates that would keep the game fresh, or at least feeling fresh, with new features and content updates. It can't be just a game that cycles once every year with one massive update to leave for the entire community, which could be completed in literally 2 weeks. Another reason why Hypixel Bedwars may be dying is the lack of pushing for the game. This might seem a little bit strange considering that Bedwars recently blew up and got over 60,000 subscribers, but if we really take a look at his videos, the videos that did well were his DeQuavis Part 1 recreating viral clips that were hacked on and faked, and Part 2. I mean, sure, his Bedwars video where he got tier tested did do pretty well, but relative to his other videos, it only merely pales in comparison in terms of the performance. But even taking my channel as an example, I've been only just pushing around 400 views average on my videos coming back, with the exception of that one video, the trap-based video. But it seems more likely than not that Hypixel content isn't getting as pushed as hard as it usually does. I mean, sure, other videos of Hypixel are getting pushed, but at the same time, I feel like people are having to evolve even further nowadays comparative to what it used to take. I remember when I first started this channel, I didn't have to put in near the amount of effort that I do now. It was as simple as just getting on Hypixel, recording a Bedwars video, making a simple thumbnail, simple editing, yada yada, but now I have to spend so much time making my videos, which I'm not complaining about, by the way. I'm just pointing out an observation. I do like making videos, but it is frustrating sometimes when your video you spend so much time on doesn't do near the performance it should. And when it doesn't do near the performance it should, it really doesn't push out to new Hypixel players. In fact, a large majority of people that even watch Bedwars in the first place are people that already play the game, which means it has limited reachability in terms of the YouTube algorithm. And when that YouTube algorithm, basically the point I was trying to make, if reachability is low, then new players are not going to play the game. But the other thing too is that the whole niche of Hypixel Bedwars is kind of dying out, and other Bedwars like Blocks.io Bedwars, Roblox Bedwars, and even Hive Bedwars to an extent are getting more popular than the original Hypixel Bedwars. Another thing coming back to reachability is even when new players watch Bedwars videos, 1.8 PvP is often the big hindrance in them coming to play Bedwars. 1.20 PvP is completely, and I mean completely different to 1.8 PvP. In 1.8 PvP, it's literally just 20 CPS and go, but in 1.20 it takes a lot more timing and base skill to be able to perform very well in PvP. This hindrance often leaves many 1.20 players at a massive disadvantage, and with how sweaty and stacked Hypixel lobbies are, it literally can be the difference between them learning and being good at the game and then them rage quitting after 5 matches of getting beat by the same 400-star player. I wish I was lying. Another thing which drew a lot of competitive players away from Hypixel Bedwars is them removing competitive tournaments outright. This was a controversial move by Hypixel. I see it as a bit of a lazy gesture because it literally just shows how freaking lazy the Hypixel staff team is for not even wanting to regulate their own events and leaving events up to the community to make decent Bedwars tournaments. But people strive to be competitive in a lot of games, and this is no exception to Hypixel, as I literally have tried to strive to be a competitive bridge player, albeit I failed miserably, but I still try and sweat the game from time to time. And if I was a serious competitive player for bridge, having no tournaments or anything to play for in the grand scheme of things would make me very upset, because I would really like to showcase my skills if I was a godlike or something. But I know that there are a lot of serious Bedwars players like Doer who are really insanely talented at the game who would like to show off their skills in a ranked tournament. And this is just the straw that breaks the camel's back for some players. When they want to play competitive, they'll move to a different server. So now that I've listed out how Hypixel has lost a lot of their Bedwars player count, how does Hypixel really get these players back? Well, first off, it's going to come down to a lot of factors, but the biggest one that they can start with in their own house is literally just updating the game or offering some new content. And I don't mean content that gets old in a week. I'm talking about content that could keep you occupied for at least a month or more. A month or more in terms of content usually takes roughly around, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months to produce, or in Skyblock's case, literally years to produce. But the reason why Bedwars is like the neglected red-headed stepchild of Hypixel's, game mode selection is because of Skyblock. Skyblock really rakes in the money, as it gets over 10,000 concurrent players at many, if not all times of the day. This ultimately leads to Bedwars getting neglected, as a lot more development resources go to Hypixel Skyblock. And I understand that, Hypixel's got to do what's best for business, but at the same time, they could appeal to so many more audiences if they're willing to divide up their staff team. Maybe have Time Dio do Skyblock and then have other admins work on other game modes. This is why game modes such as Duels and Skywars have completely died out. I'm not trying to side tangent here, but I'm gonna have to because it's the best way to explain this. Essentially, the reason why both of those game modes died out completely is because, well, their lack of updates. If Bedwars can start updating at least on a semi-consistent basis of once every 2 to 3 months, with smaller content updates in between, and at least a major update every 2 to 3-ish months, then I could see a lot more people making a return to the game, which means more content creators have more original content to make videos on. And the other thing too is, once the content creators start having a lot of content to pump out on, then more people will see the game. The other thing, which I've mentioned before, is 1.20, but that's a whole other video, and I would link my video down in the description to watch my whole side tangent rant on making Bedwars 1.20 in the description. Personally, I think that Hypixel Bedwars can return to its peak, but at the same time, I feel like the Hypixel staff team is slowly but surely giving up any hope on Bedwars. They're giving it up. They're giving it up to the community for it to be community ran, for the people of the community to make videos on it. It sounds almost like a democracy, honestly. But at the same time, I don't want Hypixel to give up on Bedwars, but personally, I don't call the shots. Simon does. But at the end of the day, all we can do is just play Bedwars and hope that one day it will have a resurgence, just like how it had a resurgence in May with Bedwars is low-key fun again. And to be fair, it is becoming slightly fun again for me, but I don't think the community, at least part of it, shares the same sentiment. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know your thoughts down below if you think Bedwars is dying or what Bedwars can do to save itself from a eventual demise. But that's all from me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.